This is Maui Community College, with a world of knowledge here at home.
But today is a lecture that we're going to do as part of a fun project. So today we're going to talk about chest tubes and chest tube systems. So what are chest tubes? Well, chest tubes are also called thoracostomy tubes. And we can see here's a tube going inside of his chest and doing something. Chest tubes are long, semi-flexible plastic tubes. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. But chest tubes are inserted into the chest wall so that they can drain collections of fluid or air from the pleural space. Your lungs are surrounded by a pleural space, and there's really nothing in that pleural space other than just a little bit of fluid. And those two pleural linings give the lungs lubrication to move against the chest wall. But sometimes that pleural space can get filled up with air or blood or pus, and we need to use a chest tube to drain that pleural space. So here's a picture of a chest tube in the pleural space. We see blood in the pleural space here. That's the lung right there. And so let's talk about pneumothorax. Here is a picture of a pneumothorax. And first, we'll look over here at the normal lung. Normally there is no air in the pleural space. There's really nothing in the pleural space other than a teeny tiny amount of lubricating fluid that belongs in the pleural space. This pleural space helps keep the lung inflated. But if air, for some reason, gets into the pleural space, this can collapse our lung. We can see our lung has collapsed because some air has gotten into the pleural space. And this is called pneumothorax. Pneumo, air, thorax, the chest. All right. So air in the pleural space is pneumothorax. And this collapses the lung, and we'll talk more about that. And notice the inflated lung, the collapsed lung. We're going to look at some x-rays here in a second of all this. Hemothorax is blood in the pleural space. And so here we see blood in the pleural space, and the lung has collapsed somewhat due to the blood. And we can have blood and air in the pleural space as well. And there's a picture of the collapsed lung surrounded by blood in the pleural space. Here's a chest x-ray. This is the normal inflated lung. Air is black, stuff is white, and since your lungs are full of air, they turn black on x-ray. We can see the ribs, and we can see the heart. And over here is what's called an empyema. An empyema is pus or purulence in the pleural space. And so this is the purulent fluid collection. This is the collapsed lung. So we use a chest tube to drain the pleural space of either air or fluid, and this reinflates the lung. I wanted to point out, though, the tip of the tube is usually pointing towards the collection. And so you'll see chest tubes point up with pneumothorax and down with a fluid collection because air goes up and fluid goes down. So don't be surprised if you see chest tubes pointing down into the pleural space to drain fluids like blood. So if air fluid gets into the pleural space, the lung can collapse. Most people can endure this as a chronic process. But something to keep in mind is the concept of a tension pneumothorax. If air compresses in that pleural space, if it can get into the pleural space but has no way of getting out, and we continue to add air with each breath, then this is going to compress the heart and the major vessels, and this can be very lethal in a matter of minutes. So here's a chest x-ray of a tension pneumothorax. And this is different than a simple pneumothorax. A tension pneumothorax means the air continues to be added and compressed and shifts the heart and the center mediastinum across the chest wall. And so compressed air in the pleural space collapses the lung, and it collapses the heart and the blood vessels. And this is what makes tension pneumothorax so deadly, is because that air compressing on the heart does not allow the heart to fill with blood, and that means the heart cannot pump blood. Something else you'll see on a tension pneumothorax, because it's shifted over, you see our bronchus, and where it divides in the two main stems is shifted across the midline, and you can see that on a chest x-ray of a tension pneumothorax if you look very carefully. Well, here is a severe tension pneumothorax x-ray. So this is our massive tension pneumothorax. Notice it's pushed the diaphragm way down, and it's pushed the mediastinum and the heart across to the other side of the chest. And when the chest contents are compressed like that, this is lethal. This will kill people very quickly. Something you'll see if you ever come in contact with somebody who has a tension pneumothorax is their trachea will be deviated away from the side of compression. Since everything's pushing the chest contents to the opposite side, the trachea will deviate as well. And this is something that you can see from across the room if you have good eyes. And this tension pneumothorax was caused by rib fractures. If you look at this x-ray carefully, you can see broken ribs, and these broken ribs have punctured the lung, and the lung has put air into the pleural space, but the air has nowhere else to go, and every time they inhale, they push and compress more air into that pleural space. So a lot of times these tension pneumothoraxes are caused by rib fractures. And if we take a blow-up, we can see these fractured ribs on the x-ray. Something else that you can see is subcutaneous emphysema. Subcutaneous means under the skin. Emphysema means air trapping. This isn't the disease emphysema that's caused by smoking and other things. That is an airway disease caused by the lungs trapping air. Subcutaneous emphysema is when air gets under the skin, and when you push on it, you can hear it make little crackles and crepitus. And so sometimes you're going to have to put your hands on people and actually touch them to feel things like this if it's not obvious. And here's a blow-up of the x-ray. You can see little air pockets under the skin. That's subcutaneous emphysema. Subcutaneous emphysema is not lethal. The rib fractures are not lethal unless they cause a tension pneumothorax. This is a post-mortem x-ray. I think this is from the American College of Surgeons, from their trauma web page. This tension pneumothorax is lethal because it's compressed on the heart. The heart is not able to fill with blood, and so the heart can't pump, and that's lethal.